Larry, some of my friends tell me that there's no such thing as luck, but I don't know. I think you're at least I know you weren't the luckiest in the crowd in the community, but you're lucky at this point. You've got your 14.1.3. And of course, we are all anxious to hear your impressions of it because everybody's talking about how good it is, but there's been a few thoughts. But anyway, what are you thinking?
It's good. It's very good. I can get into the car in the garage, put my destination, punch the open garage key, which I wish they would automate, but that would be my one suggestion
Yeah,
to the
yeah, yeah.
team. But punch the open garage button on the screen and then punch uh, the blue bar that says, start. It'll back out of the garage. It'll take off. It'll go to the destination. It'll park at the destination. I've got it so dialed in. I take the dog to the dog park every day. And there's a great parking lot just around the corner from the dog park. The dog park is in the middle of this park we have in the middle of our town. Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful park, and the dog park's in a corner of it, fairly large corner of it. But it's difficult to get parking around there. But there's a parking lot just around the corners. But I really touch the. I've created a,
In
a,
like a
a
pin.
destination for
Yeah.
that parking lot. It drives me right into that parking lot, backs up, parks actually parks with the nose in.
Oh, okay.
And then when we go back, I touch the button and it takes me back into my garage. I mean, it is, we're looking at true autonomy. I mean, door to door with, so far I haven't had an intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a most amazing thing happen to me the other day that really opened my eyes. Yesterday, I was driving downtown and there's a lot of construction, a lot of mess, a lot of stuff going on. And my eyes on the road, and suddenly the car halts, stops. Now we're only doing 15, 20 miles an hour because it's very busy downtown. But the car came to an absolute dead halt. I looked up and then a couple of pedestrians waved, thank you. And they crossed on the pedestrian crossing that I hadn't seen.
No, at all. Yeah.
And they were just standing on the side of the pedestrian crossing. They weren't trying to cross anything.
Yeah.
There was no light at this pedestrian crossing. I
Yeah.
mean, downtown is all tore up, as they say in the South, all tore up.
Hmm.
But I mean, the car just stopped. And then out of the corner of my eyes, I see these guys looking surprised at the car stopping for them, waving thank you and passing on.
Yeah,
So
it's
today we had sorry, I was going to tell you one other thing.
yeah.
We have construction in the outside, actually not construction, a whole lot of ambulances and fire trucks, some
Mhm.
emergency in some neighbor's house. And so they set up all kinds of cones. Car came to the cone, stopped. The fire guy moved the cones. Once he moved the cones, the car drove through as if I was, and then I acknowledged it to the guy. I said, thank you, because the car didn't say thank you. I
Right.
guess I should ding it for that. Anyway, I'm very pleased about it. I noticed some people say, yeah, but we've had a lot of complaints about, some jerkiness
Mhm, mhm.
around corners and stop streets. And I've had a little bit of that, but it's trivial. It's
Trivial.
truly trivial.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my
Yeah.
story.
So it's interesting about the stopping for the crosswalk because one of the things I noticed, and I'm so far behind you right now with 12.6. One of the things I noticed right away with 12.6 was that it was so polite.
Hmm.
It seems designed. It has to be designed to be polite. Uh,
Yeah, I've seen that on numerous. I mean, that the pedestrians surprised me because I didn't. I mean, if you saw how they were standing there, they were as surprised as
it's
me that
right,
I'd stopped.
right, right. Yeah.
They were kind of just standing there. They weren't even, gesturing their way forward. There was no New York moment,
Right.
when they're trying to step out. They were waiting for the traffic to bypass, and then they were going to cross, but the
Mhm.
car came to a halt. You could see. But yeah, it's very polite, and I haven't tested it on the critical exit from our old neighborhood, which I'm going to have to take it there tomorrow. So that'll be an important report. But otherwise, I must say it's very, very, very smooth. Amazing.
So there was a new idea thrown out there today, and it's something I've
Mhm.
actually thought about quite a while ago, is that if there's going to be, I mean, when there is a unsupervised, which hopefully is, coming fairly soon. We've always talked about, okay, we've got the insurance element to that, we've got the liability element to that, all this kind of stuff. And this was suggesting that there might be a charge. Don't know how much, $20 a month, $50 a month. There might be a number that Tesla feels that they need to charge even those of us who paid $7, 8, $12,000 for FSD, that in order to go to unsupervised, there needs to be some kind of charge. What do you think?
No, that would be breaking the promise.
Okay.
We were promised unsupervised. We were promised autonomous cars.
Hmm.
They couldn't put a date on it. They felt it would be sooner than it ended up being.
Right,
It's
right.
taken 5 years. But we were promised this. I don't believe such a charge could fly. I think it can't fly legally.
Hmm.
Because if you look at the company's statements, and some of them were made, in forward-looking statements, I think the promise was autonomy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have you as a co-host here. We have you as a member, one of the writers in the book, because of your huge depth of knowledge about software and related items. I mean, other reasons too, Larry, just because you're fun. But I was curious. There's a lot of commentary out today about how to shrink this thing down to hardware 3. It was brought up in the call. And what do you think? Do you think they'll be able, with all this new stuff that they're talking about and some of the stuff that came out from DeepSeek, I guess, yesterday on terms of vision being able to be shrunk down? Do you think we've got a real shot at it?
I think we have a real shot at it. Um, I think, I've given it a lot of thought, and one of the problems in my head has been, even if you shrink it down, it will not be as functional as the later versions of the hardware.
Mhm, mhm,
And it seems to me that it would behoove Tesla to design the upcoming chip, not so much the chip itself, but the
mhm,
interface and sorry, the form factor and the device that holds the chip and memory in such a way that some of the stuff can be slotted in and slotted out. Now, that's not very easy from an engineering point of view because interfaces change if the chip changes and so on and so forth, and speeds of memory change and memory, adapters that the memory fits into and the wiring and so on changes. But it would behoove them to have a way to upgrade those, the computer component.
mhm, mhm.
And as I think about it, it may well be that the engineering for the refitting of the hardware 3 cars, AI 3 cars, would be a good way to start. Now, one of the interesting things is that it's the same car. It's a Model 3,
Right.
right? And so functionally, there should be, in theory, the amount of space necessary for the replacement.
For the
Now, the
book.
wiring may change. It may be a little bit painful. The cameras would have to change.
Mhm.
So it's quite an expensive change, but think about the alternative. The alternative is, almost 3 million cars, is it?
Well, yeah, but it would only be those who bought the FSD. The people who didn't buy it, I don't think would have any claim to it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the value add to the car.
Oh, uh-huh.
You know, to manufacture a Model 3 that is FSD compliant is going to cost them $30,000, $28,000, $30,000.
Right.
Here's a Model 3 that, could become FSD compliant for, I don't know, 20% of that money.
Mhm.
So you have to think to yourself, if you want to get a lot of autonomous cars on the road, that would be the way to go.
Yeah, that's the other side of it, is if is it worth it to spend a little money to make some money downstream from
Yeah.
the FSD revenues? Yeah, and or robotaxi revenues. Yeah.
The counter to that, the strong counter to that is that, Cybertruck, the Cybercab should cost so little money to manufacture that maybe less money to just make a Cybercab and put that on the road rather than. So, it's a lot of moving parts, the pieces of it that I don't know or understand yet. So I can't really pass an opinion, but I'm thinking that the kit to exchange the capability could run as low as $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's true, I think it would be worthwhile.
Okay, later in the program, we want to talk about a model that you've created with regard to energy storage
Yeah.
and the future revenues and profits. But before we get to that, I think there's probably a few folks out there that were shocked by the stock dropping off so badly today. And so
Yeah.
I've got a list, Larry, of reasons why it might have happened, but there are also things that we need to talk about anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So Uber says they're working with NVIDIA to create an autonomous vehicle. Does that worry you? Does that concern you at all?
It amuses me. I mean, Uber has partnered with everybody in planet Earth. How can we take their partnership seriously?
Yeah.
And honestly, the NVIDIA solution is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive. And it's still not driving any autonomous vehicle.
Right, right. Well, then we had the ex-CEO of Stellantis come out and say that he thought Tesla might not even exist in 10 years and that Elon might just get distracted and go off and run some other company. And anyway, what did you think about his commentary?
I think that guy has got zero credibility in the stock markets. So if that's the cause of the decline of the shares, then I'm going to run to the market tomorrow to buy a whole bunch of stock. I mean, nobody takes that guy seriously. Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody
He
takes
practically destroyed Stellantis
Yeah.
in his term in office. There was a bunch of the average earnings reduction by FactSet over the last couple of days, about 2.5%, something like that. People have revised their 2026, their 2030s down just a bit. Do you think that was part of the problem? Do you think that is an issue?
No, I think this is all trading around the earnings. I think these were the shorts and the longs, resolving their positions. Look, the stock dropped quite precipitously during the call.
Mm-hmm.
It remained down for a day, half a day,
No,
and then it shot back up again, and now it's shot back down again. This looks to me like traders trading positions.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me.
This was also an options expiry day. And Tesla, of course,
That's my point. I mean,
yeah.
people, balanced their positions yesterday. Those that lost just, flamed out, those that made it, cashed in. So I wouldn't take any of these stock movements. And we've had this conversation. I think we had this conversation last week. The stock movements around the earnings report, not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
I know some people, and I've interviewed some people who made bets, and depending on how gutsy they were, how well they held out, they could have made money, but they could also have easily lost money because you're on the wrong side of the trade at one point, right side of the trade the other point, and then on the wrong side of trade.
Right,
But
right.
look, nobody who is making money at any level is going to wait until expiry date. Those guys that cash out generally cash out the day after or the day 2 days after. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Monday.
Yeah, I usually figure 3 days. That's my rule. 3 days after, that's when you know kind of where things settle out.
Depends on when the settlement date is. If
Oh,
they have earnings on a Wednesday,
yeah,
then Monday's a fair day.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That'd be three
Yeah.
business days. So the Tesla Model Y was Europe's best-selling car in September,
Amazing. Amazing.
returning to the #1 slot for the first time in 9 months.
Yeah, we were told it would never happen again.
But I almost always agree with Jeff Lutz, but Jeff Lutz thought that it's just taken them this long to get the cars up and into inventory. He said that he was looking at inventory, a month or two ago, and they still didn't have it in the showroom. So
what is he saying? The first 2 months of the quarter were very bad, and now this one. But
now
which month are we talking about that they had the record? Last month.
so September is when they were #1 in September.
Yeah, that's last month.
Yeah,
That
last
makes. So what he's
he's
saying,
saying that
August they had no inventory.
they had no inventory in the showrooms. So he thinks it might have been a supply issue, but I mean, I don't know.
It's possible. We don't know where they stood in the August sale.
Right.
Yeah, it's possible. Jeff is generally on target.
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked you is, see if we're anyway. So that's a really good
But
thing.
nevertheless, I mean, it's still an incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big number.
Yeah, and suggests that that might be another thing that could help fourth quarter sales. Is if this is a portending the future. We don't know for sure, but one piece of evidence.
Look, I quoted the guy from Morgan Stanley today. The guy who can't can't call into a shareholders, not a shareholder, sorry, an earnings call. He said they are exiting the auto business.
The steering wheel auto business or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, the auto business. They're exiting the business of selling autos with steering wheels.
Right. That's what it boiled down to. Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
We should stop looking at auto sales. We should stop talking about that. They'll do auto sales fine, but the real number comes when autonomy arrives and cybercab arrives, and that's it. That's what we're looking for.
All right, let's talk about your energy storage model.
Okay.
I said this morning in my program that, as much as we are looking for these robots, that we have some other products in the line too. Energy storage, semi-truck, these are all significant businesses and, continuing the auto business. But you specifically wanted to kind of get your arms around how energy is going to play out, given the lumpiness and given the three factories. And so I'm curious to see what you came up with.
Yeah, one of the things that we have to, can you let me share? I
I
can
did.
share, can I? Okay.
Let me try again. Yep.
One of the things we have to get comfortable with when we talk about energy. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep. It's all good.
One of the things we have to get comfortable with when we talk about the energy business is that it definitely takes quite a long time to get factories up and running. Everybody said, oh, Shanghai can do it overnight. Shanghai can do it overnight. But they don't understand. It's not just manufacturing the product. It's also then getting it to the customer, and then not just getting it to the customer, but getting it installed and getting it through the testing process and getting the interconnect to the grid before you can switch it on.
Right.
And that's sometimes a 2-year process.
Wow.
So even when you start manufacturing at 40, gigawatt hours a month, it doesn't really help you a whole lot, because that 40 gigawatt hours takes a long time to get that pig through that snake. So that's why I looked at the estimated backlog over time. And, so if you go back to time, you can see my screen, can you?
Yes, yeah.
So if you go back in time, you can see that in 2024, we had a $7.18 billion backlog. And it grew to 10.7, which grew to 15 which is going to grow, which by the end of this 2025 to 10.7, I should say. And then in 2026, we're going to see it grow to 15.9. That 5.2 billion represents Shanghai and Lathrop production that doesn't get to market in that year.
Right.
And that backlog is then going to grow to 24.5, which is another $8.6 billion.
Right.
From Houston and Shanghai that doesn't get to market.
Right.
So that's why it's taken us this long to get to this 13 gigawatt hours, 13.5, I guess.
12.5.
In this quarter. Because we anticipated, well, not we, but a lot of people anticipated. And then when I do this analysis, people criticize me, oh, but what about Shanghai? Shanghai's going to ramp fast. And, what about Houston? Houston's going to ramp. The factory is not the issue. The snake is not the factory. The snake is once the product gets out of the factory, it's all the process of setting that operation up, setting that farm of megapacks up, and then bringing them operational. And we saw that in the construction of the megapacks at the factory in Austin. It took them almost 9 months to a year to get it up and running.
You mean Lathrop? Lathrop?
No, I'm talking about the megapacks that they installed at Austin.
Oh, the ones they installed. Yes.
At the Gigafactory. So that's one of the issues about how we see the growth of this. And I published this today on X, and the first thing that somebody said, well, what about Shanghai? Aren't they going to be in production? Yeah, they are. But that production is not going to get into the books until we've gone through the snake,
Right.
But if we look back and to 2025 and where we are in 2026, we can see the ramp is a pretty smooth curve, and it's a pretty impressive curve because we go from and this is gross profit. This would be sales revenue and backlog, and this green line here is gross profit. And we're going from less than $2 billion, and there's a very flat curve. Then suddenly it jumps to 2.7, and then we're going to be like at $4.4 billion of gross profit by the end of 27, because that is that's when we get through the snake for Lathrop. And and Houston is just beginning to shine. So if we go to 2028, it's probably going to look even better, but this curve is going to go further, vertical.
Right, right.
So what we're looking at here is, the gross profit is here. It was very steep because they're probably making gross losses until Lathrop comes into operation and some of the newer battery lines come into production. And then it evens out while we're waiting for Shanghai to hit, and then Shanghai hits. And then, looking beyond 2027 to 2028, I think we'll see Houston hit. And so there'll be a further jump. But man, we're looking at a hell of a jump. We were looking from less than $0.25 billion in gross profit, jumping to 2.25, jumping to 3, and then we're looking to jump all the way up to 4.7.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a growth of gross profit.
Right.
Heck of a growth of gross profit.
Yeah.
And then here's the actual numbers in billions. So we're looking at revenue climbing from all in 2024, 9 billion. We're topping out at 10.1 in 2025, which doesn't seem like much, but then it drives up by 30% in 2026 and by a whopping, 60% in 2027. So this is when it really hits. And then 2028 will be, spectacular. But I can't get my handle around Houston yet, although they're talking about 50 gigawatt hours per month. And gross profit
per year, yeah.
I mean, per year, yeah. And then we're looking at gross profit again, driving, and I'm hoping that we'll maintain gross profit at current levels. It's not clear that we will, but that's what my estimates are based on. Operating expenses, I've gone to the high side. I think they're going to be lower than this. But, I'm allowing for like, I don't know, a reasonable percentage of our current current operating costs, say at a ratio of about 25% of the rate that the auto division operates at. And that gets us to operating income. In 2024, we earn nothing. In 2025, it looks like $2 billion is going to hit the bottom line in total. In 2026, we're going to get to 2.6, and then it jumps all the way up to 4 billion in 2027. And then net income, there's a so operating income is really a direct conversion of the gross margin less the operating expense. But then you get to net income, and net income is really, this figure less operating expenses.
Sure.
And again, we're rising quite nicely here in 2026 from 1.663. And by the way, do you notice that the net income jumps from 0 to 1.66 billion, which is not much.
Right.
You're looking at the whole of Tesla, but then it jumps to 2.1 million, then it jumps to 3.5 million. So it doubles in 2 years. That's a hell of a growth rate.
Yep.
Now, shares outstanding, I have to allow for the ESOP and Elon's package. And so I've done the numbers as if Elon's going to hit his goals. And our earnings per share is 0 this year, 0 last year, about 47 cents across the 4 quarters this year, which is not nothing, but it's going to get to 60 cents in 2026 and $1 in 2027.
Okay.
So that's, it's not great, but considering 2027 is just a launch point for the business, I think it's pretty good.
So Cern had a good question last night. He did his own analysis, not of this, completely different analysis. But he was asking the question once again, which we've all asked, and which I know you've worked on this. I know that Matt Smith has worked on this. Where are the revenues hiding with regard to the eventual maintenance of these facilities when there's a maintenance contract and the arbitrage, when they do get to arbitrage the energy? Are they in those numbers? Are they part of the margin here? Or are they in services and other? Where do those show up, or do you know?
We're not seeing them. I'm not sure that they're going to earn them. I don't know that the arbitrage belongs to the battery supplier or the software supplier. I think the arbitrage belongs to the operator. Whether Tesla's got some royalties in that or not, I don't know. It's certainly not in these numbers. These numbers look strictly at the margins we've been able to impute from the numbers that have been shared with us to date.
Right.
So I'm not sure there is such a number. Now, I do know that Tesla have sort of partnered with their customers in some cases, and that will show some earnings, but I'm not sure it's going to be a big number yet. Not sure. And
Right.
Nobody knows, and they're not telling us.
Right.
But look, this is a very good business. It's a business that's doubling every 2 years. So that's pretty healthy rate of growth. It's still only $1 a share by 2027. And so, there's a lot of room to run. We don't see the full growth of the capacity that they're already building out at this point. That only happens in, just beyond this period. And I think we don't have a sense of how many factories they're going to build across the world. I can't believe Europe doesn't have its own factory.
Yeah, I know.
And
I can't believe that North Carolina doesn't have its own factory.
Yes, North Carolina needs a factory. Anyway, that's what I did
That's great
today.
Yeah, that's super. Okay, turning to the general economy. Why don't we click that one off? We can see your pretty face better. There we go. So we had the CPI come out this morning, and
it was very good.
Yeah, so it was fine. It was even described by a lot of the press as being soft or lower than expected. Excuse me. However, the thing that struck me, Larry, and I think you and I have talked about this before, this time it was 40% imputed. 40%. We're talking about made up numbers at this point.
Well, we've spoken about this at length. What's different this time?
It's higher.
I mean,
it's even more.
Yeah. I mean, that they are telling us about. I mean, I just don't believe any of these numbers anymore. I don't believe the method of collection. I really have a very significant problem with all of this.
Right. And we have Trueflation, who's just getting more and more sophisticated as time goes by, with more and more details.
Their numbers aligned with these numbers, actually.
Well, they're sitting, at least the numbers I'm looking at. I'm not always sure I understand their numbers, because then they'll make an estimate, and their estimate might be more aligned with the CPI, but their daily numbers are not. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm seeing wrong, but they're suggesting that inflation right now is more like 2.2 in all of their numbers. Now, if you look at the 6-month numbers, and a couple of people put those up, the last 6 months, we're running at a more like a 2% rate.
Look, I'm not worried about inflation. And I've said that again and again. I think that it's a bogey.
Right.
Bogeyman for political use. I think that the most interesting number that I'm looking at is growth rate. And the growth rate is doing very, very well at a very moderate rate of inflation. This is very good news. And the best part of that news, what's driving it? Yeah, I'm sure you're going to say tariffs, but that's not the headline. The headline is that what is driving growth right now is infrastructure being built,
Right.
factories being built,
Yeah.
investment in tooling
Hmm. Hmm.
because of the big, beautiful bill,
Right.
which was the best part of the it was the beautiful part of the big, beautiful bill. Some parts that were not so beautiful and some parts that were also too big, but that part of the bill is working and it's apparent, it's tangible already, which is quite remarkable for a piece of legislation to have a tangible impact on the gross national product within 6 months
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
it passing.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, with funny money. I'm talking about real investment
Right.
in real, plant and equipment and buildings.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and so and to your point, the S&P, because I now use Grok for all this, I asked Grok this morning, how are the earnings doing so far? And he gave me an answer, and then I saw, I think it was the Wall Street Journal or somebody, which came up with an answer very, very similar. This is probably going to be a record quarter for the 2020s in terms of earnings growth, quarter over quarter. 1921, I'm sorry, 2021, I think was huge, but they're saying it might even beat the first or second quarter of 2021.
Yeah, I think you have to pause that down, though. You have to look at which sectors are doing well and which
Mm.
sectors are doing badly. And I'd be very interested. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just a little concerned about consumer durables.
Hmm. Yep. Although
Uh,
cars are doing okay right now. General Motors
yeah,
and Ford had good results.
yeah, they did. They
And
did.
the ISM came out this morning. ISM on manufacturing was shockingly good. They were saying, yeah, looking good out there. Well, I mean, not again, manufacturing has a long way to go to even be positive. It's still negative, as Tom Lee pointed out the other day. It's still negative. He said it's a good thing. Tom Lee
Well,
says,
when you see this much infrastructure being built, then
right,
you must know that something's coming.
right,
Because
exactly.
if this infrastructure that's going in does not produce real revenue, then that will be a very bad thing.
Very
But
true.
the the auguries are really good.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Anything else you're seeing, Larry, in the economy right now that's interesting you? That's you're like, okay, this is proof in the pudding. Anything on the AI front? Are we seeing any evidence of the AI, starting to hit bottom lines? Or I know we're seeing a little bit of layoffs here and there.
No, I don't see AI having a tangible impact uh, on the economy other than things, we're doing well. And whether some of that is because of AI's impact, time alone will tell.
Hmm.
It's easy to imagine that it's becoming more efficient, but
Hmm.
there's no way to there's no way to judge that. I do know that it's a bit of a struggle right now for developers, for software developers,
Yeah.
and that's an indication that perhaps we're getting more done with less, because we were getting a lot less done with more. I can tell you that.
Well, I've always been a great believer in managers, Larry. I know you're not much of a sports guy, but in the sports that I follow, I've always said it's about the manager. I don't care who the pitcher is. I don't care who the quarterback is. Give me an amazing manager. He'll take that talent and turn it into a team. And you, of course, have been running some pretty big companies. And I'm going to guess you would agree with me because no, I'm kidding. But we currently have a manager. We currently have President Trump, who has an optimistic go attitude. Whatever else anybody can say about him, he is let's go, and he's brought in this team of people that all have that same kind of energy.
I have to say that he had a pretty good administration until COVID hit
Yes, last time. Yeah.
last time. but I didn't see the deftness of touch that he's showing this time. Yeah, I was very, very, very critical of him when he was elected, as you know. We've
Yes,
had the
yes,
conversation.
yes.
And I didn't really appreciate what he was doing until he had done it. But as I look back in that 17, 18, 19 period, it was really good.
Yeah, it was.
It was really good until COVID hit. And even when COVID hit, he managed to shut the travel from China down long before he was recommended, and everybody criticized him, particularly the health community criticized him, and they said, it's not going to help, not going to help. Well,
Yeah.
it may have saved a lot of cities what New York went through. But anyway, the bottom line is he showed a deftness of touch, even though we didn't recognize it.
Mhm.
This time, he seems to be just at the next level.
Yeah, yeah.
At the next level, and he makes mistakes. He corrects them kind of the same day. He doesn't mess around. He's
break things, move fast and break things, right?
things. Yeah.
He's
Anyway, I do appreciate him this time around. Yeah, I do wish he and Elon would, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, that would, I think we can all agree on that one 100%.
Hmm.
So Larry, Tesla has made up a little bit in the after hours, about 0.13%. So we're sitting 434. But the truth is, as Brian Wang pointed out Wednesday, it's in this trading range. It's been the low is I think 414. The high is like 470. It has not been outside that trading range for a very long time, and that would suggest that it's like ready to erupt. And I think the eruption, I was really happy to hear Elon say, unsupervised is what's going to change everything.
I agree with that.
It's been my mantra for a very long time. Is that
Well, the next big battle is regulatory.
yes.
That's the next big battle, and there's no telling where it ends because we've got this guy in transport who looks like he wants to become a czar, and that's not a good thing.
Did you see my postings on the death rates, Larry?
I haven't looked at postings at all.
All right. So listen to this. Restraints, seatbelts, and airbags, which are mandatory in vehicles, right? How many lives do they save per year?
I don't know.
4,000.
That's negligible.
It's negligible. I mean, it's a good number. We're all happy to have it.
It's not even a 10% number.
It's not even 10%. 4,000 per year. That's what it saves. And what we're talking about,
Sure that?
I just looked it up. I looked it up two different ways, and because I used Grok and then I used the stats. So we're looking at 4,000 per year is what they estimate the savings is. And then I think it's another 70,000 serious injuries. I can't remember. I got the number, but I think it's roughly that 70,000. If all cars were Tesla and all of them were using not even full self-driving, we would cut the deaths currently by 90% based on the stats we're seeing out of Tesla. So that would be talking about saving 36,000 lives per year and 630,000 serious injuries.
But how many of those injuries are being caused by large trucks, which probably would obliterate even a Tesla?
As we know, the texting now is the number one problem. Drunk driving has always been right up there at the top. Or now it's not drunk driving. Do you know that marijuana is now past drunk? Marijuana is responsible for more deaths and injuries than alcohol. And then you've got distracted driving of other types, eating and all the other kinds of things.
Telephone.
Yeah, but the telephone's number one.
Cell phone.
Yeah, it's number one. Yeah, no, the trucks are important, but they're not the big deal. So, and then as you know, most of the accidents are actually in the ones that kill people and hurt people are in the cities, not on the freeways. People running lights, pedestrians getting hit, etc. That's where you have a lot of the problems. So anyway, it seems to me, therefore, if my numbers are correct, and I believe they are, because I'm getting them from Tesla and from the transportation agency, then FSD should be mandatory. They should give them 2 years, give all the other car companies 2 years to have equivalent of FSD capability in the cars. It's going to save a lot more lives than seatbelts. And
can't do it in 2 years.
All right, give them 3. I'll give them 3.
I think it's going to take them 5 years. It took Tesla 5 years.
But if they take Tesla's FSD, they have the capability to do it so much faster.
3 years. Yeah, that would take about, how long did it take them to get the gas? I mean, the
the
charging adapter. I mean, some of them still don't have a charging adapter. Some of them stopped making EVs before they started making charging adapters.
Right, exactly. Anyway, so that's my numbers, Larry. People can shoot them down. They can tell me I'm wrong. I'll look in the comments below. But it looks to me like instead of the transportation department deciding whether or not they should be allowing FSD, they should be making it mandatory.
Mandatory.
And we've already got the stats to prove it. So that's let's see what else we got here. Let's go on to the bonds. The bonds are hanging in there, Larry, right around 4%. Let me look.
Well, they were shade under 4% this week. I thought you would be celebrating.
I am celebrating. We end the week at 4.003. So I think that's
sorry. Sorry. But yesterday they were below.
Yeah, yesterday for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Most of the week they were below. We got oil hanging right in there. Not a big deal. Down 35 cents the day after going up quite a bit the last few days. But 61.44, everybody's happy with that number.
I wonder if Trump is going to actually get away with opening up all the oceans to drilling, and how long that will stick.
I didn't hear that.
Yep, they are really mulling opening up all the seashore lines to drilling.
Wow.
That will make a huge impact.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Larry. Almost nobody does. I wish I had a picture so I could put it up. Do you know that until the 40s, the entire shore of the Los Angeles beaches, not a little section here and a little section there. No, we're talking about Newport Beach, Redondo Beach, Santa Monica Beach, Malibu, were just loaded with derricks. One derrick.
I remember them. I've seen them. I had seen them.
Yeah, I mean, so this idea that we have to, I mean,
Santa Barbara had them until, what, 10 years ago.
So I mean, it's not getting our natural resources. And I think, who was it today was talking about it? I can't remember which one of the major leaders of the tech industry was saying, this is like we should be on war footing. We cannot afford as a country not to be number one in AI. And
this is war.
Energy is the key to making that happen. Yep. Natural gas around the same. It's been $3.34, which is high, but we're going into winter, so I don't think that's abnormal. Gold. So here we are. We're now in a range. So which way are we going to go out of the range, Larry? I know that we're between 4,000 and 4,400. It's been bouncing back and forth for 2 weeks. So is it going? Most people think it's going higher. Everybody that
I saw a graph today, which I should have actually preserved for you. And I'll see if I can find it and get it to you. Showing the gold price as a percent. The gold price over time. Compared to the rate of inflation,
anyway.
And it showed this massive surge in the 30 crash. Showed the massive surge in the 80s, in the just
Right.
as the Federal Reserve clamped down on
Right. Right.
and dropped again, and then spiked now, and the spike looks very similar to the 80s spike, which means it's going to collapse at one point.
Yeah.
And I think it collapses when US inflation rate softens and quietens, and our growth rate continues to expand upwards beyond the 4% mark, maybe into the 5% mark, and we get this 3% growth. I think you'll see gold collapse. Doesn't mean it won't get to 5,000
Beforehand, yeah.
before it does collapse. So I'll try and find that for next time, but it looks like those spikes are very intermittent. They come and they go. And we're looking at a pretty long, almost 100 years of history.
Right. All right. That'd be interesting to take a look at that. So gold actually down 1870 today, silver down 0.60%.
So much.
Yeah, so not that much. Copper sitting at 512 again. So, but again, I think that's still that mine problem is why it's so high right now. The dollar pretty flat, almost flat today. And Bitcoin staying down, staying way down. So Tom Lee isn't always right, right? It's going to be harder and harder to double Bitcoin by the end of the year.
Bitcoin can double in a week.
We're at 111 right now, and Ethereum's at 3,941. So that's all we get to report today because there is no
After hours.
no futures market. Yeah. So what do you think, Larry? I'm extremely bullish on the economy over the next 2 years.
Yes, I think I am too. And a lot turns on the midterms. I think the midterms have to go well. It doesn't, I'm hearing noises that it's not looking that good, but who knows? I mean, it's hard.
CNN, this new guy that they've got that does the polling and does the analysis. He's a little bit of a whack job, but he's entertaining.
Entertaining, yeah.
Entertaining. And he did one this morning where he said, typically, but not typically, but a year ago, the consumers were saying that not inflation, the economy was number one on their mind by something like it's like 55% saying it was the number one most important thing that was bothering them or upsetting them. I'm probably getting this number right. What I'm not getting wrong is that it dropped 20%. So if it was 55, it's now 35% saying that the economy is the top thing on their mind. And inflation has gone down a similar amount.
It's possible.
So if that happens, I would say that the midterms have a pretty rosy future.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, that would be one thing, but it's the economy, stupid. And I'm not talking to you.
It's true.
It's just quoting Billy. All right. Last word of wisdom. Sometimes you have a word of wisdom for us to share. Anything?
Yeah, the East Wing is toast.
Long live the ballroom.
Long live the ballroom.
All right. Hey,
I mean, people get very exercised about this stuff, but presidents have been doing it for hundreds of years.
Of course.
It's their house.
Of course they have. Absolutely. All right, Larry.
All right, man.
Thanks as always.
Take
And
care.
to all of you guys out there, it's been great talking to you.